This is Sports Matters with Jerry Coughlan.
It's so retro.
We cover all the biggest sports on the planet. MMA, boxing, snooker, football, darts, you name it, and we cover it. Check out all the latest interviews with Jerry and the Stars weekly on Sports Matters.
So welcome to Sports Matters with me, Jerry Coughlan. I'm joined simply by one of the greatest MMA stars of our time, Bas Rutten. How's things in LA at the moment?
Things are very hot, my friend. We got a heat wave going on. It's like 105. I don't even know what that Celsius is, but it's probably like 40, 42 or so, I think. Yeah.
And you're always busy. Like, you're a man of many talents. You know, movie star, great MMA career. You do commentary, and you're also a qualified chef, I believe.
I'm doing a chef? Yes, I am. Yeah, that's
so many talents.
Right? I can cook. I went to 4 years to cooking school, to culinary school.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's awesome. So we're going to take it back to the early days. I believe you kind of got inspired by, mixed martial arts at the age of 12 when you snuck into a Bruce Lee film, Enter the Dragon. Tell us, what it was like back then for you to see that kind of stuff, first time.
For me, it was an eye opener because, as you know, I had a horrible skin disease and I had a severe asthma attack. So I was a very skinny kid, and I had my hands and face and elbows and my inside. Everything was covered with eczema. So you get bullied a lot by kids because they think it's contagious. They call you a leper. So slowly but surely you start getting angry at everybody. But I was always the class clown, so I always tried to, with comedy, to join the group, so to say. And I think when I saw the Bruce Lee movie, it became comedy and fighting. How I was going to treat my bullies, and preferable the combination of it. And I went to the movie, saw Bruce Lee, realized if I could be like that guy, nobody's going to mess with me anymore. And we started training. 2 years later, it took 2 years for me asking my parents. They didn't like it, martial arts. They thought it was violence. But after 2 years, finally, I started training, hanging out. An older guy took me under his wing, and he brought me to grown-up classes. So I was training as a 14-year-old kid with all the grown-ups, and then within months, I started beating up these brown belts there, getting back kicks to the body, dropping people with body kicks. So I heard them in the dressing room. They were talking about me. Said, "Oh man, did you see that kid today? He knocked out. He dropped him with a spinning back kick to the body." So everybody was laughing, and I picked up these things, so I started getting more confident, and that's when I got into a fight with the biggest bully in town, and his 7 buddies. They all surrounded me, and but I knocked him out 1 punch, and that was the end of the bullying. I think 95% of the bullying stuff, nobody did it anymore.
It normally does. And you've had such an amazing career. Like, you're always regarded as one of the greatest, of our time. Like, for you, obviously you got a second degree black belt, and you've done so much. What's the most important factors of mixed martial arts for you?
I think it's just determination and everything. It's habits, creating good habits, and you be like a military regiment. You can't come late. Like, if I'm teaching, you can't come late. If you come late, the class over. I think it's very annoying. I'm not too late, so if I can be on time, you're going to be on time. But it's also when you train, 5 o'clock, 5 o'clock, and you need to be. And I'm this guy who I can say to myself what I'm going to do that day. And even if I reach too high, that it's going to be a very hard workout. But since I said it, once it comes out of my mouth, I will say it out loud to myself. I have to do it. It's a thing that I built in from a little kid on already when I wanted to go to the restroom with a full-blown asthma attack, and I was one flight of stairs. That would take me, that trip was like a 30-minute trip to just go take a leak, because, you tell out loud, you said, okay, I'm going to go now because I have to do it. And then I just told myself, whatever I say to myself, I'm going to do. And that helped me a lot in everything because, there's moments that you really don't want to go through anymore because it's too hard, but I have to live up to my own words. So I have to keep on training. And I think once you do that, you just get mentally much stronger and you can push barriers. I mean, we have warm-ups that we had professional fighters coming in who had a fight like in 10 days or in 2 weeks, and they couldn't do our warm-up. And they said, man, this is too hard. I said, this is the warm-up, guys. We didn't even start. I said, what are you guys doing? I said, when is the fight? And he says, 10 days. I said, don't fight. You're not in shape. If you can't do the warm-up, yeah, well, we trained really hard. I said, well, not hard enough, you see. And that it's the trick, just to push all the time. And if you can do that, well, you can do it. You can apply that on everything.
Definitely, and you've proven that because you've gone on to so much. And I do find you very inspirational, I must say. Your first 16 kickboxing fights, you won the first 14, I believe, in the first round by KO. That determination alone just proves, what you can achieve if you work really hard.
Yeah, and that was a brute strength. I was a good kickboxer, but I was much better in training. The trick is to get us from training to get that same calmness and bring that to a fight. And in Thai boxing, for some reason, I didn't have it. I was just a destroyer. I would come in, I would start very technical, I would look very nice until I got hit. Somebody hit me, I got disconnected above, and then I would just destroy the guy. And since I was so powerful or explosive, well, it worked out a whole bunch of times. But the ones that I lost, that's because I run out of gas. And then, they get the better of me. So, for some reason, when I went to Japan, that completely changed. I think, I've been always thinking about that, it's because I found out in Japan that we had only 1 round to fight. And I go, 1 round, that is awesome. How many minutes? And they said 30. And I go, that is awesome. But, in my mind, I thought, dude, this is crazy. My opponent was already, I found out on the same day, there were no weight classes. So my opponent was 245 pounds. I was at the time 200, 203 or so also. So it started with having a 40-pound difference, weight advantage. And then I hear the round is 30 minutes. I go, whoa. And, and I think that maybe in my mind made me more calculated. I mean, I could not believe how in control I was from the first fight on in Pancrase. It was really weird. It was like I could see myself from the outside. It was a whole new, a whole new experience, And then suddenly when I got that click, when I started learning the ground game, then everything started really coming together. So, I always say, what one man can do, any man can do, and it's, sure, some people have to work harder for it, but, if you have to work harder for it, you're going to be even better than the other guys. I know fighters who are technically not good, but they, and who have motoric, skill problems a little bit even, and they become a champion, and that I love when I see that, because these guys had to work much harder than all the talented athletes, so to say, but because they had to work much harder, they're very hard to beat. They're the grinders. They're the tough guys who don't want to lose because they have to work so hard for it. So it works both ways.
Great advice. And of course, obviously UFC is perhaps, along with Bellator, the biggest organizations in the world right now. So much talent coming through. You first joined UFC, I believe, back in 1998, and of course you signed that big contract, and you were already mounted to have them big fights. For you, what was it like? Of course, you worked with some massive organizations before UFC, but to join UFC then, and of course be part of that organization pretty much from day one, what was it like to get that big contract and get that title, of course, winning that world title?
It was important to me. I didn't like the Pancrase rules were really good for me to develop all my craft, and I love the 8 counts, and I love the rope escapes. And people go like, why would you love rope escapes? I said, well, I won 14 fights by submission and 10 by knockout, or 11 by knockout. But those 14 submissions and those 11 knockouts, they're way more, because I dropped them many, many more times just before I delivered the knockout, and there were 8 counts. So you have more ring time, so to say. And same with the submissions. If you look at it, you say 40 submissions, but that number could be very well 40 or more, because sometimes I would submit somebody in the fight 3 times, and the 4th time I would make sure he couldn't grab the rope, and then the fight was over. But then every time when you submit somebody, you go back on your feet and you restart. So you have a lot of ring time, and I think that's the reason that the guys from Pancrase were all doing really well in the UFC. You had Marley Smith, Frank Shamrock, Ken Shamrock, Guy Metzger. Takahashi, everybody became like a UFC guy. So when they asked me to go over there, because we had UFC guys coming to Japan, and I would beat them in Japan, so then, of course, the UFC matchmaker at the time, John Peretti, came to Japan at a show that I was fighting, and he said, man, we're very interested in you. We would like to fight in UFC. I said, I would love that, because I would love to close my fist and to kick somebody without shin guard. That would be really fun for me to do. So, and my biggest wish was I wanted to come up with the UFC theme song. I think the theme song is so badass, and that was one of the my biggest wishes. So it was awesome. You know, I felt right away I was injured in both fights, but I still I still fought. Of course, the fight against Randleman, you know, there's always a controversy about it, but, you know, Kev's a good buddy of mine, and he's up there now, having messing us at us, and it's all good. We're good buddies, so it doesn't really matter who won or who lost.
That's good to hear. Sportsmanship's always essential. Like, I have to ask you, being a massive fan of yours, it's, you know, I know you fought so many amazing opponents, and I always say anyone that steps in the cage or ring in a fight in general is a warrior, but for you, if you could pick one, who would be the toughest fight for you in your career?
Right now?
Well, in general, just in the past, with all the fights you've had.
For my own career. Okay. You know, I have to go with Funaki. The rematch with Funaki. Well, because what happened was that he beat me in my third fight. My third fight was my first loss, and it was by way of toe hold. I didn't even know what a toe hold was at the time. You know, I know it hurt, but I didn't know what it was. And so they kept him. Once they signed a contract with me, I had a great contract, and the last fight of the contract, they gave me Funaki, thinking that he was going to beat me again, and that would, of course, help them with the contract negotiation for the new one. And I had different plans, of course. So when I fought Funaki, it was really weird because he's such a nice guy. For some reason, before the fight, he steps in front of me, and with his thumb, he makes that slitting the throat sign, you know?
Yeah.
And I go, it really got me angry. And I remember looking at my manager, because I never had a trainer. It was my manager in the corner. I go, I'm going to annihilate this guy now. And he goes, you got to stay calm, boss. I said, I will stay calm, don't worry. I said, but watch, if I drop him once, he's going to go, I'm going to destroy him now. I was so angry. And then the fight started. And I had a game plan going in it also. There was a game plan that I said, okay, it was a 30-minute fight. Funaki, I knew he never fought more than 15 minutes. And I thought, you know what I'm going to do in the first 15 minutes? I'm just going to hold him. He takes me down. I'm just going to hold him in the car, push him away, get back up, play around a little bit because every 5 minutes they announce the time. Until we hear 15 minutes passed, and maybe that will do something mentally to him, you know, because he's never been past 15 minutes. So that was kind of my game plan. But then around 12 minutes, I was sitting on my knees, and he kicks me in the face. I blocked it, but it was an illegal kick. So I got angry, and I think 10 seconds later he's down for the first time, and then I took it to town. And the hard thing was he would go down. I mean, I hit his face. I saw his nose flat on the side of his face. I mean, it was the craziest thing. But then every time the audience started chanting, like, Funaki, Funaki, and then he got up again, and then he continued. So I dropped him 4 times in total. It was the craziest thing. The last one, I literally grabbed him by the hair, and I gave him as hard as I could a knee in the face. Yeah, he couldn't get up from that one anymore. That was a little bit too brutal, but yeah, that was just because I was very angry at that moment.
Good stuff. That's a great story. And just because we were on about it, like, you know, I think you still have it. You never lose that. But if you could fight one guy in any organization right now, who would it be?
You know, I've been thinking about that. It is so crazy. Like, if you first of all, I would never fight heavyweight anymore because now 205, which I always weigh, is a different weight class. Like that.
Yes.
We didn't have that. Like 200 pounds and over, 200 pounds and under, and in Japan there were no weight class. So I would consider maybe even going to 185. I don't know, because I see these fighters nowadays. If I stand next to John Jones, dude, that guy is a head taller than I am, and so is like Tito Ortiz and Forrest Clifford, and the guys are giants. I don't know how they can get down to that weight. You know, so you know, to fight a guy like that, you know, they have everything over you, the reach advantage. So maybe it would be better to fight at 185, and then, you know, if I were fighting, I would be competing. So then, whoever the champion is, you know, but I guess that's the go-to answer for every fighter that you ask that question.
Of course, I like it. And of course, what can I say? Here Comes the Boom, the movie. You played such an amazing part in that. Do you enjoy doing the movies? Obviously, it must be great fun.
It was one of the best experiences, you know, to meet all these people. Like, Henry Winkler was a childhood friend. Childhood star. Everybody knew him, you know, from Happy Days, and we watched with the family on Sundays. I remember the streets would be empty because everybody was watching that show. So to meet Henry Winkler and Salma Hayek, I remember her from the first movie from Dusk Till Dawn from Tarantino, when she walks in with the big snake. And then I think I saw that movie, but that was, I would go, dude, I was in love with her, you know, like, you're younger. And then you meet that person also, and you realize that she is a blast, drinks beer, crushes cans on her head. She's hilarious. She's a real fun lady. And then Henry Winkler, we just interviewed him on Rutten and Vanilla on the podcast like 3 or 4 weeks ago. If you don't, I told everybody, if you don't know him, look him up and watch. And if you're like over 25 years old, then also tell your parents to listen to that interview, because I guarantee all the parents are going to enjoy it. Because he's such a good guy. And Kevin James, of course, he's been my buddy for a long time. So that's why he's the best. He's the best guy.
Good stuff. And what can we expect in the future? Because I know you're such a busy man, very inspirational. Any projects you could tell us about?
I'm working on 2 TV projects. Hopefully that's one of them is going to be sold or bought. Depends on who we talk to.
They'll be silly not to buy it. Trust me, they'll be silly not to buy it.
Yeah, because we have a few very good ideas. It's I work together with Anthony Bourdain also. It's also a cook, and he found out that I was a cook, and his wife is training in jiu-jitsu with Renzo Gracie, so there was a connection right away, and we came up with this TV show that we would like to do. So it's a good guy to have as a backer. He's going to be in the series as well, but not as he's going to be 5 or 6 times on the 13 shows. But he's a producer on the show at least also. So that could be fun. And another show is also, it's about our jet, something that we're thinking about. But I have the O2 trainer, it's a long training device, which now is proven 100% by medical journals. I'm going to have all the proof for the people that this increases your stamina crazy. There's new techniques that we use now with the breathing device that I made. It's called the O2 trainer, and it's a little different than I used it before, but now you have to do exercises with it, and it will change your life. For a fighter, you enhance your stamina 15 to 20%, which is proven now. It's 100% proven. It's 100% proven that it cures asthma. It cured my asthma. It cured my friend's asthma, and a lot of other people who bought it. So we're going to go public with this company, probably now within a month, and I think that could be really big, because I think we're going to help a lot of people who have lung disease, and a lot of athletes we're going to help, because they're going to be stronger. So that's a fun thing. I have the Body Action System. That's a punching kicking device, Body Action System, BAS. That's a great thing. There's workouts going to come out now. I have audio workouts that I've been selling for the last 15 years, and everybody loves them. You ask a fighter, he probably worked out on it, because it's my voice telling you very fast combinations. And it goes fast. I found a system to make it very clear and fast. So that is going to go, it's going to come out 18 new workouts, 6 in boxing, 6 in kickboxing, and 6 in mixed martial arts. Insane. If you can complete that thing, you're in shape. They're 40-minute workouts too. So, all these things together. And, I do an audition here, an audition there. Yesterday there's an audition. So hopefully one of these things is going to hit suddenly, and then boom, I got something.
Boom. No, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. And we have no doubt we're going to support you all the way and make sure all your links and all your new projects are being plugged on our website as well. It's an absolute honour speaking to you as always. I'm a massive fan, so it's a great honour for me to speak to you. And I've no doubt I'm going to bump into you at some stage over the next few months at some MMA event across the world. I would my wife and I have Scotland and Ireland, it's on our bucket list. We really want to go, so maybe there's a chance, the end of the year, because my daughter in Holland, she had a baby last December, so I'm a grandfather, so I'm going to visit her and my parents and everybody. And but maybe we're going to stop in England first. I like to fly with Virgin Atlantic. And then, we stop there. We go to Ireland and to Scotland to do a little tour. So I really want to check that out. It looks really great. We will look after you, you know that. When you're with all the Irish lads and the Scottish lads, we're going to look after you. You won't need to put your hand in your pocket. We'll take you on a pub crawl. We'll show you all the famous scenery around Ireland.
And we're going to get drunk, I guess, right? It's Ireland.
Of course, you have to do it once. Once at least.
I also understand in Ireland there's no alcoholics, right? Because everybody drinks.
We're all alcoholics. There's no such thing. It's just normal. It's in history. It has to be done.
Awesome.
Thank you for taking the call today. I know you're very busy, and we will catch up with you in a couple of weeks to discuss more projects. And as always, have a great chat with yourself. So thank you.
All right, yeah, and thank you for the nice words.